سوا على الهوا يأتيكم عبر أثير إذاعة
صباح الخير. صباح الخير أمريكا.
لما نكون سوا يا حياتي سوا.
يمكنكم الآن متابعة برنامج سوا على الهواء على قناة ميوزك لايف عبر الدش نتورك شانل 633. البرنامج يبث لمستمعين يوم الثلاثاء الساعة 8 صباحا حسب التوقيت الشرقي للولايات المتحدة في ميشيغان وتوليدو وأوهايو ووينزر كندا على الموجة المتوسطة wnzk 690 AM، ولمستمعين في مناطق واشنطن وفرجينيا وميريلاند على الموجة المتوسطة wdmv 700 AM. يمكنكم الاستماع للبرنامج عبر الاتصال من أي هاتف على الرقم 702-489-0120. يتلقى البرنامج اتصالاتكم مباشرة من داخل الولايات المتحدة على الهاتف رقم 248-557-3300. الإضافة عبر سكايب US Arab Radio. للاستماع للبودكاست ushammedia.com.
سوا على الهوا. سوا على الهوا يأتيكم عبر أثير إذاعة
صباح الخير. صباح الخير أمريكا.
اليوم اللي كون يا وطني الموت كنا سوا.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Joumana Kayrouz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير ومرحبا بكل الذين انضموا إلينا في هذه الفترة الصباحية. تمام 8 صباحا القاضي الأمريكي من أصول عربية ديفيد تورفه في ضيافة المحامية جومانا كيروز. هذا الصباح يذكر المجتمع العربي الأمريكي بالعديد من النماذج المتميزة في كافة المجالات والتي تحتاج منا بذل مزيد من الجهد والعمل لإظهار دورها الحقيقي لنمو مجتمعنا الأمريكي. المحامية القديرة الأستاذة جومانا كيروز تستضيف في الثلاثاء الأول من كل شهر أحد تلك النماذج لتلقي الضوء على دورها داخل المجتمع، ولتكن تلك النماذج إضاءة أمل جديدة لأجيال عربية أمريكية تسعى لدورها المستقبلي المؤثر في مجتمعاتنا المختلفة. القاضي الأمريكي من أصل عربي ديفيد تورفه أحد أبرز تلك الوجوه. تستضيفه اليوم المحامية الأستاذة جومانا كيروز، وهو ولد في ولاية ميشيغان في مدينة ديربون تحديدا، وتخرج من كلية إدارة الأعمال في عام 1978 وحصل على درجة الدكتوراه في القانون من جامعة ميشيغان عام 1991. يعمل حاليا رئيسا للقضاة للمحكمة العشرين في مدينة ديربون هايتس بولاية ميشيغان. مرحبا بكل مستمعينا مباشرة عبر أثير صوت العرب من أمريكا. بعد الفاصل تابعوا المحامية جومانا كيروز وحوارها الشيق مع القاضي تورفي.
Joumana Kayrouz. You've seen her images on giant billboards across the metro. Joumana Kayrouz. You've seen her images on buses across the city. Now get to know Joumana Kayrouz.
The war broke out in my home country, Lebanon. I was 11 years old, and I saw a lot of bloodshed and inequality and poverty. You can't grow up in an environment like that and not be affected by it and not want to make a difference. I graduated from Yale University with a master's in ethics. I speak 4 languages. It has always been innate in me fighting for the underdog and trying to do whatever it is I can to make a difference in the world.
Let Joumana Kayrouz protect your rights. Call the law offices of Joumana Kayrouz at 1-866-YOUR-RIGHTS, extension 100, or visit yourrights.com.
صباح الخير. Good morning everybody. صباح النور ليلى، صباح النور لكل الموجودين اليوم في الاستوديو. وقبل كل شيء صباح النور، وقلنا أكبر فخر وأكبر سعادة إنه نستقبل القاضي ديفيد تيرفي في استوديو today. Good morning sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you, Joumana.
Well, first test. So you know what Layla said in Arabic,
I
and
did.
you're gonna translate to us everything she said. How about that?
I don't want to lose your listeners right off the bat.
What a pleasure to have you. I just want to inform the listeners that although Judge Turfe understands very, very good Arabic and speaks pretty well, it is his preference that we conduct this interview in English. Is it correct, Your Honor?
That's correct. You're too kind. I do understand it, but speaking it, I have a little bit of a problem speaking it. شوية يعني مش كتير يعني. So,
What a pleasure to have you today. Thank you for making the drive all the way from your court, Dearborn Heights, today on a very busy Tuesday morning, and coming here and giving us 1 hour of your time. I want to tell you that we have the whole hour. I want to tell the listeners that they are free to call at 248-557-3300. One more time, 248-557-3300. I know, Your Honor, you give a lot of interviews. I know you have been interviewed multiple times. And it is our pleasure to have you because your role here is very important. You are one of those Arab Americans that we take a great pride in. You are another American dream success story. 2 months ago, you may or may not know, I think you do know, that we had also the pleasure and the honor of having Judge Sam Salemi, also Lebanese, from Dearborn, who is the Chief Judge of the Dearborn District Court, and he spent an hour with us. It was also another very enlightening one-on-one hour that I believe that the listeners found to be very nice and extremely useful and very inspiring. And we wanted to have you for the same reasons. I cannot tell the listeners how fond I am of you. I knew you when you were a judge. And my office dealt with you when you were, I knew when you were a lawyer. And my office dealt with you, or one of my associates at the time, dealt with you in a, I believe, commercial business transaction matter. You know, the listeners cannot see you nodding.
no, well, like I always said, Joumana, I got the best face for radio, but anyway.
You have the best face for radio, for television, for billboards, name it.
Well,
interestingly, that you are Lebanese, and like me, you are blonde, and you are blue-eyed. Explain this one, Your Honor.
Well, you know, don't give me any mailman jokes. Joumana, but for many years, you know, my father, Hajj Muhammad Turfe, was one of the founders of the Islamic Center of America.
And I sent him my fondest regards. I don't know if he's listening today. I am extremely fond of your father. Not to mention your beautiful wife, Faye.
Thank you.
And your beautiful 4 children. May God bless them.
Thank you very much. And for years, when I used to frequent the Islamic Center, when it used to be on Joy Road in Detroit, I used to walk in there and they used to say, "Who is this guy in this center?" Because I had blonde hair and blue eyes.
Didn't belong.
They didn't belong. They didn't know I was 100% Muslim.
Now, your father, Hajj Muhammad, does not have your coloring.
No,
So
he doesn't.
Tell me, I don't know if I have met your mom or not.
My mom has dark brown hair and my dad has black hair,
Okay,
as
so
you know.
explain, Your Honor.
Well,
are you adopted? What is going on?
I don't know if they switched me at birth, but there is. I do have some grandmothers that do have light skin, so that's where I probably.
And where are you originally from, Lebanon? From the south?
From the south,
Okay.
Vintage Bed.
Vintage Bed.
Yes.
So many people in Dearborn are from Vintage
Yeah,
Bed.
my grandfather migrated to the United States in the early 1900s,
Yeah.
where in fact he was enlisted in the United States Army.
Yes.
And so
So he served his country.
He did serve the United States early
Wow.
on, and my father was born in 19. I hope he's not listening. 32 or 33, and
Here in this country.
In this country.
Because you too were born in this country.
This is correct.
In Dearborn.
Yes.
This is where you grew up.
This is correct.
Let me remind the listeners, we have the pleasure and the honor of having the Chief Judge of the 20th District Court, that being Dearborn Heights, the Honorable David Turfe, who is serving his 2nd term, first elected in 2006, re-elected in 2012, and your term expires in 2018.
That's
We'll talk
correct.
about that in a minute if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
You are a role model, Your Honor, just like Judge Sam Salemi, who is the first a person of Middle Eastern origin to be elected a judge in Dearborn. You two are the first person of Middle Eastern descent to be elected a judge and then chief judge. We are very proud of that in Dearborn Heights. Correct?
This is correct, and
So you are a trailblazer.
well,
Yes, you are.
sitting next to you, I'm
Thank you.
I'm a junior trailblazer
Not
next
at
to you,
all.
Joumana, because
Not
you
at
are a
all.
role model to everybody in our community as well,
Thank
and
you.
in the non-Arabic community as well too.
Thank
But I
you.
got to tell you, I hope I do a good job today, because coming off the heels of Judge Salami, he's a hard act to follow, but I will try to absolutely do my best.
May I say, I have known you for many years, and Your Honor, you have a lot of things going for you, and one of them is your sincerity and your spontaneity, and that is something that has served you well. I want, before we start this interview, I want to share with the listeners something that I bet you do not remember. Maybe about a year or 2 years into becoming a judge for the first time. So we're talking maybe 2007, 2008. One of my car injured accident clients. So I had a client who had a car accident, and he was found at fault by your police officers in Dearborn Heights. He begged me to represent him when we sent in the appearance. He knew that I had helped you on your campaign the first time. He begged me to be personally present and represent him on his ticket. And so I did go and represent him on his ticket. This gentleman had an order to be deported. His car accident was a pretty serious car accident that left him truly destitute. He was financially of extremely limited means. And Your Honor, I don't know how many judges do that. I stood in front of you and I told you about his limited financial means and about his inability to pay all at once the $160, $150 fine at the time. You were so kind and you were so compassionate, and you on your own reduced his ticket from 100, and I know that's not something, Your Honor, you can do all the time. I am certain that as chief judge you have to balance the budget and do a lot of things that maybe back then were not called upon you. But I want to tell the listeners that in my 16, 17, 18 years of being a judge, I have done a lot of traffic tickets for friends, and of course always for free, for friends and acquaintances and what have you. I have never seen or heard of a judge who reduces the fine on a traffic ticket. You were so kind, and I was so touched by it. I couldn't find the words.
Well, thank you very much, Joumana, but I have a little motto on the bench. I will never, ever make a decision as having money as the motivating factor for making that decision. That can never happen as a judge.
But,
So-
Your Honor, I have not seen this happen in any other courtroom. I don't know how many of your colleagues, whether it is in your, there is another judge.
Judge Plawecki.
Yes, and we send him our regards as well, of Irish descent, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. I don't know of, I am, correct me, I don't know of any judge who has done that.
I'm sure there are some judges that
Well,
do
never and
are
always,
compassionate, but,
yeah, but
you know, they always say always avoid, always never say never. But we are a district court judge, and you got to understand, Joumana, we are the people's court.
You bet you are.
And we are the
You
one-
are, not the circuit
Right.
court, not the Court of
That's right.
Appeals, not
We
the
are.
Michigan Supreme Court, and not the United States Supreme Court. The district court is the people's court. That's where people's problems, that's where they're solved.
This is correct, and this is where we talk. And this is where judges have the opportunity to talk like you and I are talking right now.
Yes.
We talk face to face without lawyers, and I'm not saying, you know, lawyers muddle things up at all, but we talk sincerely, and this is why I thoroughly enjoy the district court, because I love to talk to the people and get to the bottom of their problems and try and help them if we can.
Well, I think in this interview it's going to come across how fond I am of you. I really am, and for good reason. I have known you for a number of years. And before you were a judge, and you are into your, 6 and 4, 10th year, 9th year into being a judge?
By my 8th year.
Okay. You have the true mark of a person is a person who does not change regardless of the titles they acquire or the wealth they acquire or the positions they acquire. If I may strip you of your title for a minute, the David Turfe who is sitting across from me today is the same David Turfe I met when he was a lawyer before 2006. My hat is off to you, and that's the true mark of a human being.
Well, thank you
Really.
very much. I have to credit that to my parents and to my upbringing, because
No doubt.
my parents and to my faith as well too.
And
You
to
know.
your wife.
Yeah, well, 100%.
Your wife, you know, your significant other,
Yes.
Faye, I hope she's listening. She's a beautiful, very modest, very humble woman, very good mother of 4 children. And, you know, I mean, you are who you keep company with. That's the truth. Very kind lady, very modest lady, very beautiful woman, very simple.
She is simple. We are simple people, and she has I have great in-laws as well too, and not too many people can say that, but I do have great in-laws. But she learned with me. She grew with me as far as the campaigns are concerned, and we she sort of took the bull by the horns at the 3rd campaign when I ran for judge, and she really, but for her, I probably wouldn't be a judge today.
Why do you say that, Your Honor?
Well, I remember in the year 2000 when I was appointed to the Dearborn Heights City Council.
Yes.
The following year was 2001, which I had to run to retain my seat.
So you were appointed because there was a vacancy at first while you were a lawyer.
This is correct, yes.
And a year later you had to now run.
In 2001.
Yes.
And we all know what happened in 2001.
You lost.
I did lose. I lost. It was a learning process.
Yes.
It's very rare that people run the first time around and win.
And
in any election.
In any political.
Election.
Yes.
And 2001, as we all know, was 9/11.
Oh,
And
yes.
me being a Muslim running for a elected position off the heels of 9/11, well, my candidate at the time made some phone calls and let the people know that how would you like a Muslim to be on your city council at the heels of 9/11.
How very unfortunate.
Yeah, and I wasn't prepared to handle all of those things. I'll be quite honest with you, Joumana.
Yeah.
And what happened was I lost. I lost by over 2,000 votes, which was a significant loss. And I was so upset that how can they do that to me? I'm just as American as anybody,
Because
and I'm very proud.
I mean, your grandfather fought in the army.
Absolutely.
You are as American as they come.
Absolutely, and I'm proud of being American. I'm proud of being a Muslim as well too. I'm very proud to be an Arab American, and I never hide that fact at all during the campaign or anything.
Yeah.
So I got very upset, and I remember I just was so upset. I remember talking to Judge Foreign, and he says, David, you can do one of two things. You can curl up and stay in the corner, or you can work a little bit harder and let the people know who you really are. So 2 years later, in 2003, I did run for city council again.
City council is a 2-year term?
They're 4-year terms, but in Dearborn Heights, there was another opening 2 years later.
Okay, yes.
And so 2 years later, instead of losing by 2,000 votes, I lost by 49 votes.
Wow.
So
that is way harder.
Yeah, it was.
That is so much harder.
It was harder because my closest
Because
friends.
you could taste it.
Well, not only that, I could see the finish. I ran out of gas, but my closest friends didn't vote, and because they thought that what's one vote, it didn't really matter, and this was a learning curve not only for myself but for our Arab American community.
You know, Your Honor, I want to tell you that when you won, I want to fast forward for a quick second, and I have mentioned this example, your example, on the radio numerous times, and Layla knows. When you ran for judge the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, but you won by a mere few hundred votes, about 200?
256 votes.
Okay,
yes.
And I always use that example to tell people, 250 votes, that's one street.
Yes.
That's
yes.
one street voting.
But we learned. It was a learning curve, Joumana, because after we lost by 49 votes, our base...
So your friends,
friends,
your own friends were complacent.
Yes, but we let the Arab American community know that, hey, if you want to be a player in politics and if you want to be significant...
If you want to have a voice.
If you want to have a voice, you have to get out and vote.
Right.
And when I ran for judge in 2006, they recognized it, and alhamdulillah, we did win in the primary. We ran against 4 other people.
Yeah.
We ran against 2 city councilmen, a city attorney, and a magistrate.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, we ended up winning by 900 votes in the primary.
Right.
So my base did come out to vote. and then as we indicated earlier, in the general election, I did win by 256 votes.
I just want to remind the listeners that we are hosting today, what a pleasure, the Honorable David Turfe, Chief Judge of the 20th District Court, that being the Dearborn Heights court. And I know a lot of people from Dearborn Heights are listening. Leila's telling me we need to take a break, and we'll come back to talk about what the judge did differently between losing by 49 votes for city council and winning by 200 and some votes for judge.
سوا على الهواء سوا على الهواء يأتيكم عبر أثير إذاعة
صباح الخير أمريكا
Joumana Kayrouz. You've seen her images on giant billboards across the metro. Joumana Kayrouz. You've seen her images on buses across the city. Now get to know Joumana Kayrouz.
The war broke out in my home country, Lebanon. I was 11 years old, and I saw a lot of bloodshed and inequality and poverty. You can't grow up in an environment like that and not be affected by it and not want to make a difference. I graduated from Yale University with a master's in ethics. I speak 4 languages. It has always been innate in me fighting for the underdog and trying to do whatever it is I can to make a difference in the world.
Let Joumana Kayrouz protect your rights. Call the law offices of Joumana Kayrouz at 1-866-YOUR-RIGHTS, extension 100, or visit yourrights.com.
We are back with the Honorable David Turfe, Chief Judge of the 20th District Court in Dearborn Heights, Michigan. Again and again, I think that the listeners today are going to feel the bias because of how much I like you, Your Honor. And might I say I'm not the only one? You are a very popular judge.
Well, thank you very much, Jamal.
Might I also add that you have not, as of yet, acquired the black robe syndrome. Can we talk about that for a minute? Can you tell me?
I love the black robe. You know how,
but you do not have the black robe syndrome, Your Honor.
I'll tell you why I like the black robe. It makes me look skinny.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I've always said, and I don't want to be a judge, I personally, but I've always said that if I were to be a judge or become a judge, I'll have them all fitted because they're really like they're like straight, you know, they're not very feminine.
One size fits all.
Yeah, you know, you want your shape to show a little bit. And what a pleasure to have you, Your Honor.
Well, in my case, I don't want my shape to show, but anyhow.
You have a beautiful shape, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, let me focus on how you lost by very dishearteningly back in 2003 for City Council by only 49 votes. And you discovered that some of your closest friends didn't really feel that it matters and did not vote. And you know, we have you as a local example that I use, and we have the Al Gore, George Bush, you know, national example by 500 and some votes on a national level. So you were at a district court level, and you won by, when you became judge for the first time, by 200 and some votes, which is really literally a street voting. And at the national level for President of the United States, we're talking about 500 or 600 vote difference between Al Gore and George Bush, and that's for voting for President of the United States.
Yes.
I mean, what more can one say?
It was a learning curve for everybody in our community. For once,
So other people were upset about that.
Absolutely.
Yes,
because,
as they should.
You know, in our Muslim community, Arab American community, we always complain about certain things. We don't have a voice here. We don't have a voice there. Well, I always used to tell them, did you vote? And they always just tell them, no, why should we vote for? I said, well, that's how you get your point across. That's how your voice is heard, by voting in the people that represent your interests. Right. And so when we lost, because it's not just my campaign, it's everybody's campaign, because I didn't run for myself, I ran for the community.
You know, I was going to call you up on, you said we 3 times already, and I knew where you were going, but I want the listeners to hear, and I know, because I know who you are. This is not about you.
No.
This is about who you represent, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay,
yeah.
That's why you say we.
Yeah, it is. We are all in this together.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, when I ran again in 2006, this is when I mentioned my wife, how she took the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
We were all in this together. The first election, we learned. The second election, we learned more. The
Right.
third election, she says, she's sort of, I'm pushing.
I'm done learning.
She pushed me to the side. Says, I'm done learning. I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. And the thing that I did the best, I used to walk, and I walked the whole city, and I talked to the people. That was what I was good at. She took care of everything else, the lawn signs, the finances, the advertising. She took care of all of that and let me be what I did the best was walking and talking to the people.
You know, Your Honor, Judge David Turfe, to those who are just tuning in, the low vote turnout is a chronic problem in the Middle Eastern community, whether it be in Dearborn Heights or whether it be in another city in Michigan, whether it be in Michigan, whether it be in California or Florida. Why do you think that is the case?
Well, we're just not used to going out and voting, and it's something ingrained from generation to generation, and they're just not used to doing it. Are they lazy? Do they not care? Are they complacent? You know, there's a variety of factors. But once they figured out that their voice and their vote does mean something, and it is significant, they've come out to vote. So, because for example, when I ran in 2006, we had about 3,500 Arab American votes in the city of Dearborn Heights. You know, a significant amount that could sway an election. Between my wife and the rest of my family, which were absolutely amazing, my sisters and my brothers and my brothers-in-laws, sister-in-laws, we got them out to the tune of about 2,600 to come out and vote. And that was significant.
That was about 75% of the Arab American
absolutely.
vote.
And but for them, I would not be a judge. They are the ones, because my base came out to vote, and that's how significant they were. As insignificant they were when I lost by 49 votes, were as significant when I won by 256 votes. So it's absolutely amazing.
Still, the opposition was so strong that when you won by a mere 200 and some votes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because in the community.
Because your competitor, upped the ante as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we worked hard. And I'll tell all the young listeners, don't ever give up. Always work hard, and don't ever think you are a minority in anything that you do. Don't ever think that. A woman wearing a hijab or a man of Arab Americanness, you can be anything you want. And myself and Judge Salami and Judge Elder and Susan DeBeja and the rest of the other elected officials are a testament to that. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell, when I went to an Arab American door, I didn't tell them vote for me because I'm your brother or Arab American. I said vote for me because you think I'm the best person for the job. Mm-hmm. And I meant that sincerely because if I'm not the best person and if we don't do well in our position, then it's a black mark on the whole community.
That is correct.
It's not just a black mark on me personally, the whole community. And I understand that, and Judge Salami understands, the rest of the elected officials, and Brian Masallam, who ran for Michigan State Trustee and won a statewide election. We are testaments that it can happen.
And the beautiful thing about Judge Sam Salami is that he, like me, he's an immigrant. He came here at a young age. I believe he was 16. You were born here.
I was.
You were born here. In fact, you said your grandfather served in the army here.
Yes.
So it must have been really heart-wrenching for you to feel that you lost in 2001 because you are a Muslim.
I always say, and I'm a firm believer, God is the master planner.
That is correct.
God knows.
Divine time, not human time.
God knows more about what's going to be in your future than we ourselves sometimes. And when I lost the first two elections, I got to do things that I never would have been able to do if I would have won.
Isn't that funny, Your Honor, that how often we learn through our mistakes more than we learn when we, by accident, succeed in something? Quite rarely do we stop and reflect back and say, we succeeded and why. Yeah. But when you fail, quote unquote fail, you learn a lot.
Absolutely. You learn about yourself. You learn to be patient. You learn to be to persevere, and you learn to see if you have the makeup to go ahead and do what you want to do. Because sometimes it's not in the cards.
Right.
And for example, if I would have won those two races for city council, I may not have been a judge.
Yeah.
I may have been so full of myself and been so complacent. Maybe I wouldn't have worked as hard when I ran for judge. So these are all good thing.
God was preparing you.
I think so. And the most important thing is I got the opportunity to go to the Hajj after I lost those 2 elections. So there were things that I would have never been able to do if I would have.
And did you feel that you went to the Hajj because you really needed more answers? Is that part of what drove you?
It did, in a certain degree. I just thought it was time. It was, one of our pillars of Islam, and as you know, Joumana, and I thought it was time. A button just clicked inside of me. It says, it's time to go.
But you believe that in part the timing of you going may have been triggered a little bit by the 2 failures.
Absolutely.
And it's very interesting that you did mention, and that's a point that listeners should hear again and again, that a lot of people who run for political office, or maybe for other positions as well, they don't always succeed at the first try.
Very rarely do people succeed the first time, because a lot of it, the people don't know who you are. They don't know if you're the right candidate for them. They haven't met you.
Yeah.
They're not used to voting for you and punching your name. So there are a lot of factors that go into it, and I certainly can understand that.
Right.
So.
I just want to remind the listeners that I know we have calls. We're going to start taking calls. We have so much more to go over with the Honorable David Turfe, Chief Judge of the 20th District Court. That's the Dearborn Heights Court. The Honorable Turfe is with us for the remainder of the hour. He so graciously gave us his time. And James, if we can take our very first call. Hello?
Hello, Miss Joumana Kayrouz.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Habba. As an American, Chaldean, proud to be American. Najib Habba, born in Iraq. So I have 2 names, Iraqi name and American name. And I want to thank you, Miss Joumana Kayrouz, for taking my call, and to Mrs. Layla Al-Husseini.
Yes, and Layla as well.
Thank you. And now I want to salute the Honorable Mr. Dave, which his last name, I'm very sorry, I can't get it.
Turfe, but let me say it in Arabic. Turfa.
Turfa. Now.
Yes, Turfa, not Turfe, Turfa.
Yeah, because at the beginning, Ms. Joumana Kayrouz, I thought maybe Tawfiq, maybe this. But Turfa is the spelling for that, like T-U-R-F-E.
That is correct.
Thank you. Your Honor, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Jerry Habba with you. Your Honorable, before I salute you, I should salute your campaign manager, Miss Faye, your wife. She was putting the sign and doing all of the organized. So congratulations to you, Mrs. Faye, if you are listening.
Thank you very much.
I hope she is listening. Is she listening, Your Honor?
Well, she's at work. Actually, she's a resource teacher at Bryant Middle School. But
and they start school today.
They did start school today.
Today is a big day. Yes, I know.
Well, Your Honorable Judge David Turfe, you are proud of all the community. As a Middle Eastern background, you are Lebanese, but you represent the Iraqi, the Egyptian, the Jordanian, the Syrian. You are represent all the minority in the great Detroit area. So we are proud to have a judge like you.
Thank you.
And you know, Your Honorable, when you lost the election as a city council, everything happened for a good cause. And when you went to a Hajj, mighty God answer your prayer, Your Honor. And in this case, I want to say to you, Your Honor, when you are a judge, you are serving your country and the American people, white and black, Hispanic and Arab and Asian, and all the minority. You become right now as the American judge to look at the people the same through the justice system.
Right.
Your Honorable, what I want to say to you, when you are sitting in your chamber, I just want to ask you this bigger question. How do you look at your client when you look at him as a person, he or a she? How are you going to judge this person? Do you going to look at him as a plain face without remembering what his religion, what his color, what his identity, what his background?
Absolutely. Believe me, as the old saying goes, justice is blind. I have blinders on when I look in the audience. But believe me, I just look at the figure that's there. We don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Muslim, or
Christian,
anything.
Arab,
Absolutely
American.
not. I swore an oath to uphold the law, and that's what we do. All judges do that. So thank you very much for your comments, Jerry. You're very kind.
Thank you very much, sir, for your beautiful words. And we'll take the second call. And again, we are with the Honorable David Turfe. We have a lot of calls. We want to take as many as we can. James? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, Ya Ahla.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Ahmed. I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
Hello, from Washington, D.C. Ahmed.
Yes, Ms. Joumana, and I always listen to your program. You have been great, and you have been trying to educate our community.
Thank you.
And at the same time, I want to congratulate Judge Turfe. We are so proud of you,
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Little comment, no more than that. I'm so happy that you won, and at the same time, I want to take your opinion how we can train the youth
Excellent.
to look up to you, to have more judges. We need it in our community. It's our voice.
And Your Honor, give the long answer to this one, not the short answer, because that's one of the main reasons you are here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It
guys.
is Ahmed from Washington.
When we were growing up, Ahmed, we didn't have some of the opportunities like some of the younger kids have today. Obviously, there's internet and there's other avenues that they can have valuable sources of information. But in my courtroom, Joumana, it's like a revolving door with interns. We have a lot of interns.
Good, Your Honor, I'm going to send you my daughter.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have, because I want to give them the opportunity like we didn't
And
have.
on a serious note, the interns, they don't have to be college graduate. Can they be high school? Is there an age requirement?
There is no age requirement.
Okay.
But,
Listen up, everybody.
yes.
That's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, we have a lot of college students that are aspiring lawyers.
But even high school?
Absolutely.
Okay.
High
All right.
schoolers as well.
Okay.
And they come in and they look and they see what the whole aura is of being a judge and being a lawyer. And so they can see firsthand if they are going to actually like the profession. They sit with the city attorney. They sit with me. They sit in the courtroom. They observe. We let them do some research if needed. So we give them the whole gambit of the opportunity to see what being a lawyer and what being a judge is and what it entails. And I absolutely encourage the youth to get involved. First and foremost, and I always tell everybody, the foundation of my educational career is not going to college, was not getting a law school degree, was not passing the bar exam.
Was it God in the home?
Well, not only was it faith and the home, but getting my high school diploma, because the high school diploma was the foundation that set me to get everything else. Without that,
I'm a little confused, Your Honor, meaning that you need to graduate from high school to go on to college.
That's the foundation that set me apart.
Are you talking about that because you still see people who do not graduate from high school?
I do. They don't take it seriously enough, and that's very important. You have to graduate from high school, and you have to take that very serious. Because your grades are very significant in high school, so you can get into college and get into a career that's going to mandate good grades. So you set your foundation in high school, and I always tell the children, even my children as well too, you have to take high school serious, okay? And that's very, very important. And to you young people, don't let failures or setbacks stop you or prevent you from doing anything you want in life. I've had the setbacks. I'm sure, Joumana, you've had setbacks in your life.
And I continue every day, Your Honor.
And it is a learning curve every day.
Absolutely.
Have respect for your elders. Learn from your elders. Those people have been where you're trying to get to.
And can I just add, let it not be about you. Let it be about the people.
Yeah.
Let it not be about you.
Yeah, I mean, in anything.
That's why you say we.
Yeah,
you don't say I.
And that's exactly right. In anything we do, we don't do things on our own. Without faith, without God's help, without your family's help, without your significant other's help, we wouldn't be where we are today. And it's very, very significant. But hard work and perseverance, believe me, it pays off. I remember having a discussion with my father, and he says, listen, Dave, you work hard. You get your college degree, you get your education, then you got the rest of your life to do what you want to do. Work hard. Because as you know, Joumana, life goes by like that.
Indeed.
It goes by so fast. So 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10 years of college will go by in a flash, and then you can do anything you want your whole life. But we do offer intern opportunities at our court for anybody that's interested, really.
How is one to contact the court for the purposes of enrolling their children in internships?
And they can call my office
Yes.
at 313-277-7139.
You are most gracious, Your Honor, to have that, and I'm sure that you are extremely welcoming and go out of your way to demystify the whole thing and to empower them, to enlighten them, and tell them that just as you, so can they be.
As you know, Joumana, being a lawyer is a great profession. It's a great profession that can springboard into a lot of things. To be a great lawyer like yourself, to maybe springboard into a judge, maybe springboard into politics, springboard into a lot of things. And it's a very, very, very noble profession.
Your Honor, if we may take another call, and again, we are welcoming calls at this point, 248-557-3300. We are with the Honorable David Turfe, a Chief Judge of the Dearborn Heights District Court, and might I add, like the Honorable Sam Salemi, the first Arab American to come into becoming a judge, whether it be in Dearborn, like Sam Salemi, or in Dearborn Heights, like Dave Turfe. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm so grateful that you took my call. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for taking the time to listen and to call.
I really appreciate you putting someone like the Honorable Dave Turfe on the air. I just wanted to tell you I am 26 years old. My name is Fatima. I also wear hijab, and I graduated from law school and took my first bar exam, which
You're waiting on the results.
I actually took my first bar exam, and I failed by 4 points. And I just recently retook the exam this July, and I'm waiting for the results. And hearing the Honorable Judge talk about failures and learning from them and not giving up and stressing that you can succeed from your failures and to keep trying to achieve your goal and not give up is really heartfelt and appreciated, especially in a world where everyone's chasing their goals in the fastest way. Failing my first bar exam also allowed me to take experiences and go through things in my life that allowed me to appreciate what I have, and I really take that to heart. So I really appreciate
Is your name Fatima again?
Yes.
Have you found a job yet?
No, I have not.
Why don't you call my office?
I appreciate that. I will do
I
that.
am, as we speak, looking for an Arabic-speaking young law school graduate.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Make sure that you reference my name so that they know how to route the call. Your Honor.
Fatima, don't give up. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it, and don't give up. Believe me, you will pass that bar exam. Trust me, you will do that. Just don't give up.
In fact, might I add, Your Honor, I have had 2 lawyers in my office who have not passed the bar from the very first time and who are shining stars in my office. So listen, Fatima, I really mean it. They are shining stars in my office, and God has granted me the ability to see past a simple few-hour exam and saw the talent in these 2 women, and I was not wrong. I was really right on. So wish you the best.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. Allah wafiqkum. Thank you very much.
وانت كمان يا رب. Your Honor,
yes.
You went to the Hajj.
Yes.
What did you, how was it? What did you?
I can tell you, if I could go to the Hajj every year, I would. It was the greatest experience that I ever experienced in my life. Absolutely. And really, and every time the Hajj season comes up, and it's coming up at the end of the month, my heart just pitter-patters like I want to be there. And I can't even.
But of course, it's time-consuming.
It is, and it's a 2-week experience, but it is the greatest experience ever. I can't even put it into words because it wouldn't justify what the experience was. So.
want to add that we have about 15 minutes remaining with the Honorable Dave Turfe. You can call, and the number is 248-557-3300. Your Honor, the district court is the people's court.
Yes.
And I agree wholeheartedly. Can you tell the listeners why is it the people's court, which is, in my opinion, the most important court of all?
Well, as you know, Joumana, every case starts in the district court. Any misdemeanor, any felony, as far as criminal, it starts in the district court. And most of them come without lawyers. So we are talking...
You're used to seeing people who are unrepresented in your courtroom.
Yes. So you have...
Is small claims court part of your court, Your Honor?
It is. It is.
Meaning any claim below $5,000?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. They just lifted the cap. It used to be $3,000. Now it's $5,000. And so that's another thing where lawyers are not welcome. Lawyers are not allowed to participate in small claims matters.
Sometimes lawyers make things more complicated to justify their fees, Your Honor. We know that.
No, I would never say that.
I'll say that.
But they come in, and when it comes to small claims, it's sort of different. The rules of evidence are sort of relaxed a little bit because they're lay people, for lack of a better word, and they don't really know and understand the rules of evidence. So we as judges have to stretch the rubber band just a little bit so they can have their case heard.
So we call it the People's Court because when you get a traffic ticket, that's where you appear. When, God forbid, and I pray nobody gets a drunk driving, violation, they appear in your court. Sadly, domestic violence and issues surrounding domestic violence and drug abuse, they are in your court. Landlord-tenant issues, and they are in your court. Disputes between neighbors, and they are in your courts.
We get a lot of that too, believe it or not.
Disputes
between neighbors.
What is that about?
The dispute, usually a lot of fence line, or their dog is going onto their property, or their loud music, or they're staying up at night. And
I hope you're lenient when it comes to dogs, Your Honor.
Well, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also we have cases, civil cases that less than $25,000 emanate in the district courts, and until recently we had a lot of foreclosure cases, as you know, as the economy went bad. So we did have a lot of foreclosure cases.
So these are the issues that touch people's lives.
Yes.
These are the issues.
When those foreclosure cases came, people living in their homes for 20, 30 years, and they're crying.
And you had to make those very hard decisions about whether or not to uproot them out of their home.
Not very easy to do sometimes.
Of course not. Yeah. I am sure you pray that God inspires you to be just every single day.
We try.
Do you make a prayer before you get on the bench in the morning?
I do. I always say the Fatiha before I go on the bench all the time.
So that God speaks through you.
I do. I always ask God to guide my tongue, my speech, my wisdom, and my reasoning.
And open your eyes and open your ears.
I always say that, and I always ask. It's very difficult as a judge and as a Muslim because who are we? Who is an individual to judge anybody? Right. God is the ultimate judger, and so I always ask.
However, God has brought you that position, and therefore He entrusts you, and He will empower you.
I always ask God
to do the best you can.
Yeah. I always ask Him for forgiveness if do I think I always make the right decisions? I always try to do the right thing. And that's what I tell the lawyers in front of me. I said, listen, we're all in this together. Let's try and do the right thing and try to make the best decision possible.
Yeah, Your Honor, not to meander too much, but your role is extremely important. Without mentioning any names, a certain Oakland County judge in a divorce dispute very recently ruled repeatedly against one of the parties to the divorce, the woman who appeared to be extremely unstable and appeared to be a risk to herself. And motion after motion were presented before the judge to do something about this woman who is a threat to herself. And the judge, I hear quite arrogantly, shut down the motions time after time. Lo and behold, the woman committed suicide a few days ago.
It's not easy. Obviously, I was not involved in the case. I don't know.
Right, and neither was I. So I can tell you that
it's not easy.
We don't know.
We as judges, it's hard. It's hard for us as judges to take somebody's liberty away from them or force them to do something that they're not comfortable with. So that's why we usually have evidentiary hearings and hearings to make those determinations. Right. And I tell these to people that I put in. I take no pleasure in putting anybody in jail. But
I have no doubt about it.
And that's part of my job responsibility because I have a responsibility not only to the city, but to our community as well too. And if somebody deserves to go to jail, then they have to go
And
to
Your
jail.
Honor, do you believe that going to jail rehabilitates someone?
Yes and no. It just depends on what they're going to jail for. Do we have a lot of repeat offenders? We don't have a lot in our city. We have a few, not a lot. So that's telling me that our probation department is doing a great job in rehabilitating certain individuals. Because we get a lot of theft, a lot of driving while license suspended cases, domestic violence, drug cases.
And Your Honor, we have very few precious minutes remaining with you, the Honorable David Turfe, and we can still take maybe a call or two at 248-557-3300. What are the 2 or 3 themes that repeat themselves before you in your courtroom coming from Arab American people?
Driving while license suspended.
What is that about, Your Honor? Is that an economic thing?
Well, it could be an economic thing because the state does mandate certain fees that have to be paid if you get too many points on your record. But it also could mean that people are not being very conscientious when they're driving as well too, because if your license is suspended, either you're not paying some fines and costs, or you're getting a lot of points. And if you're getting a lot of points, that means that the police are pulling you over multiple times, especially when you're young.
I know we have that big issue in Dearborn where there is quite a bit of reckless driving. Do you experience the same degree of recklessness in Dearborn Heights?
Not in Dearborn Heights. But when's the last time you drove down Warren Avenue, Joumana?
A long time ago.
Yeah,
it has been a little while.
It's like an Indy 500 a race track. It's not easy to drive down Warren Avenue, and people got to understand whether you're 50 pounds or 500 pounds. When you get into a vehicle, you're getting into a machine, and you can cause a lot of damage.
It can be a deadly machine.
Absolutely. Not only the driving, we experiencing some drugs as well too, and we're not talking just marijuana. We're talking about the addictive drugs with Vicodin and things like that are very.
And where do you think that is emanating from? Is it doctors who are too lenient in prescribing medications, or?
Well, I don't want to get the doctor industry all over me, but the frequency of getting these pills are by prescription drugs, and I think
it's becoming easier.
It is becoming easier, and it's not right.
And then they are in your courtroom because they're driving under the influence, or?
Alhamdulillah, not as much. The Arab Americans in our community are not. They're in the minority when it comes to that as far as the overall picture, but there is still quite a few that do drink and drive, and absolutely that's just absolutely not right.
Tell us about domestic violence among Arab Americans. Is it on the increase? I know this subject alone, we can talk about it for an hour.
It's an absolute problem. And we try to lecture on this, that if you're, listen, in a marriage relationship, in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, there's going to be some times where we disagree. It's how we handle those times, by patience and perseverance and understanding, because resorting to violence, that doesn't solve any problems. We have to communicate. The thing that and this, now you're getting me on another subject, is the technology, the text messaging and the phones and stuff like that. We as humans, we don't know how to communicate anymore. We don't know how to speak.
We hide behind text messages, and
we're texting.
I agree. We're losing social skills.
My son, for one little example, my son texted something to somebody, and I said, son, I said, and I saw it. I says, would you tell it to this person face to face? He said, no. I said, well, why are you texting it to her? And it happened to be a girl. I said, why are you texting it to her for?
Because it's safer.
Absolutely. And that's not right.
You can hide.
But absolutely.
But that's short-cutting.
No, it is. We don't know how to communicate anymore. And
then that gets us into trouble later.
Absolutely. The tongue is sharper than the sword, as you know, and in your profession, your tongue, your communication skills is what made you as a great person as you are, Joumana.
But by the same token, the tongue can be the biggest, weapon if chosen ill-wisely. My father always used to say that tongue that one has inside one's mouth is very, very dangerous tool.
And so that I didn't. If I sound like I deviated a little bit from the domestic violence discussion, but that's what it is. If the two parties can communicate,
orally communicate, talk to each other.
Absolutely, domestic violence would decrease by 90%. Really, they have to communicate with each other.
Well, do we have time to take one more call? James, do we have a call? Okay, we lost the call. Yes, Leila. Yes. Someone through Facebook who's listening has a question to ask. Are you talking about the Dearborn or Dearborn Heights police? Police, yes. We can talk about that broadly if you don't mind, Your Honor. There appears to be somebody who on Facebook reached out to Leila and did say that sometimes they feel that the Dearborn Heights police do not treat our young Arab Americans all too fairly. Go ahead,
And what I say to that is, see, there's three branches of this government, as we all know, the executive, judicial, and the legislative branch. We are the judicial branch, so if there's an issue with the police,
come to your courtroom and speak up, no?
You can come to the courtroom and speak up. You can speak up by having a formal hearing, and then this way I will listen to the case.
But that's exactly what I mean.
Absolutely.
If somebody really feels unjustly treated by the police, you are very patient, and you will listen to these people in your courtroom.
Absolutely, we will listen to them. And if you
and
think
you will try to impart justice, yes.
And if you think they went a step beyond that, then you talk to your local police chief or your local mayor, because they have obviously some influences on their police department. But by all means, come to court. You're innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely, and I can assure you that in Judge Turfe's court, he will hear you. I can tell you that. We'll take one last call. Hello?
Good morning, Ms. Joumana.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
I got a question. My car, I had expired license plate, and it was parked in the street. And they sent me a ticket for $160, which is expired license plate.
Okay, we have about 30
Can I
seconds.
fight it or no?
Absolutely. You can always fight a ticket. Okay, you can always fight a ticket. You can always come to court. And you can always ask the judge, it was my car. I'm throwing out in examples and stuff like that. And you can always ask the judge to reduce the fine. Maybe there's some circumstances that were beyond your control. You can always ask. What do you got to lose, right?
And once again, it's the people's court.
Absolutely.
Judges are used to seeing people represent themselves without lawyers.
I didn't see any note on a car or something like that, and I moved the car to different location at my mom's house, which is same address I have.
Sir, you can always come to court. If you have a little bit of time, you can always come to court. Don't ever forget that.
Indeed, it is the people's court. Your Honor, I thank you so very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
With your permission, I'd like us to run this tape again and again so that people who missed it today can benefit and be inspired by you. You are a pleasure.
Thank you.
And you are our pride.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for taking off your time. And my very best to your father, Haj Muhammad, to your beautiful wife, Faye.
Thank you very much, Joumana.
Thank
you
sir.
for having me.
Thank you for giving us of your time.